So, first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Jakir Hussein, who invited me here for the privilege to speak and hello, yeah, to privilege to speak and be part of this campaign against child abuse. As I started engaging myself to into clinical psychology as well, therefore I do understand. Yes, I do understand the trauma and the effect of the negative, abusive experience to every child. It can impact their self-development mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So, how to reduce the cases of this child abuse in India, worldwide rather, not only in India, because it happens everywhere. So, I just would like to share these two key points. First is I believe we as an adult or guardian, if we can or if we can, we need to educate our children to be open-minded, aware, alert, even in their younger age regarding this issue. Then second thing is we really need to stand up and be their voice to protect them by sincerely participating with this kind of campaign. We should be their source of strength and confidence, especially for those who are already victimized and have taken advantage. We may really cannot get rid of this issue completely and immediately, but at least we already starting and taken an action against it. Mr. Jakir or Mr. Suru, if you allow me to use this remaining time to encourage and invite people from different nations to truly engage themselves to protect children, to protect these little innocent angels. By participating and supporting this campaign against child abuse, we are the hope, and we have the major role for better and future generations. So that's the only two key point I wanted to share for now. Thank you so much.
I'm very glad to associate with so many workers here who have been working in the area of child abuse. Mr. Sonu being the co-founder, I know that what hard work he has been doing. And Anu, then Klesi, and really it is a fortunate time to discuss various ideas, how best we can, think about all these things. Basically, I'm a doctor and I was working in slums during 80s. In the slums, what happens? There are many children who are being used by mothers or somebody else for different tasks. And I used to see them in a very pathetic condition. And also, in the slum, there is a red light area where the red light area workers, their children. And that is also somehow attracted my mind. And I started an institution called Child Foundation of India in 1990. So anybody interested, you can go to the website www.childfoundationindia.in. So where my interest was, and even today I have been working on how best we can bring metamorphosis on the children. Forget about first abuse. Abuse is a epidemic, as it was already mentioned by our colleague. But before epidemic, how things are, how, the children, we can make them as really useful citizens of the country. So that is my, what I call anguish in those days. So in my foundation, there are about 140 children in the beginning. Subsequently, thousands of children in my organization, and many of them today, they become police officers. They become what we call bank officers. Some of them are working in London. Some of them in USA. It is something very, very fantastic. The children who got trained in our institution are settled at various places. So that is something which I cherish with you. Coming to the subject, today my definition of child is child C cool, H hope, I ignite, L lovely, D divinity. This is the what we call definition of my child. Yeah. Why I called cool? Whenever you find a child, you see always children are very, very cool. What is the hope? They think that tomorrow they are going to get even moon directly to their home. They see the sky and they will tell the mom, I'm getting a moon tomorrow to my room. That is the hope of children. You never find their brain so, extensively thinking the brain. I don't think whether you ask moon to come down or not, but many children, every day they see the sky and they try to ask the moon to come down. That is the hope they have. Ignite. If you properly ignite the children, they are the makers of the nation. They are going to change the universe whatever way they want. You have to ignite properly them. They're lovely. They're lovely to see. They're lovely to, nourish. They are also lovely to be with us. And divinity, above all, the moment you see child, you feel that there is a divinity in them. That is the definition of my child. But unfortunately, if you see this mother, somewhere brought this child and intoxicated the child with opium, and she is begging on the road. This is the biggest junction, Visakhapatnam, called NAD Junction, a crossroad very close to airport. Every day we find this type of women bringing the children. Unfortunately, the children are intoxicated with opium, with alcohol, some other thing. And the cruelty is so much, I could not wait. So what I did, I have written to the AP State Human Rights Commission, because at that time I was the chairman of the Child Welfare Committee. Then I wrote to the Human Rights Commission. Then they, in turn, without doing anything, they wrote to the police commissioner, and again the welfare panel moved to keep children off begging. But what happened in this process? I faced a lot of troubles from mafia, from the people who supply these children to the beggars, and the police officers who have never cooperated with us. And ultimately, the Child Welfare Committee at its meeting here on Monday decided to initiate a drive to prevent begging in the city, which is a great child abuse using children. The meeting decided to create awareness on the stringent provisions. Chairman Kudgopala Surya said, use of children for begging at traffic and crossroads and putting them under influence of narcotics or other intoxicants attract the imprisonment up to 3 years and fine whatever the magistrate can do. When the law is saying like that, but nobody is bothered, still it is going on in many parts. This background I want to present to you very briefly, because I am asked to present within 15 minutes. So I'm going to finish as early as possible, unless there is a time. And this is what is the prevention of child abuse 2021. Have you seen the background under which the child abuse is today, as my colleague said, epidemic. And I feel it is a pandemic also. Epidemic is limited to one country. But when in Canada, I found that not in this way of abuse, but an abuse of different story. You'll be surprised to know the children are being used for some games where for the camel, one child is hanged. And the camel, to run very fast, the child has to cry. When the child crying heavily, the camel runs very fast and gets the award, maybe in crores and crores of rupees. Unfortunately, in the process, if the child is thrown by the camel itself will kill the child. So these are such as things I noticed. So with this background, now we are going to briefly how you can prevent the child abuse. We did a research. We found that child abuse can happen at home by near relatives. If there is a child in the home and if there is any relative who is unmarried or married or having some unfortunate thinking, maybe if he is very uncle and all that, and they do also try to molestate the child. Then at classroom, you must have seen a number of the residential schools in Andhra Pradesh. The headmaster or the class teacher, they use the child. And one day, we see in the newspaper that 9th class child has delivered a child. 9th class child has delivered a child. Who is the culprit? That master. So this is going on in the schools in different ways. You must remember in one of the public schools in Delhi, that fellow has molested more than 10 children. There was a big news. I don't know whether you remember or not. Coming to what we call workplace. The workplace also, many of the children, either by the trainer or by somebody else, are being sexually assaulted. Then children, when they're taught swimming, they're touched by the trainer at parts which are not supposed to be touched, and there are abuses going on. Then when that teacher is giving them the training, or football or a tennis, whatever may be, many times these trainers, even to send the children for good upper classes, they use them. And in the classroom. So this is also happening at these places. Commonly, we thought that are these places really happening? Yes, they are happening. I was fortunate to attend United Nations General Assembly in New York. I was one of the speakers on migration. Migration, when I was discussing about migration, I also discussed about the migration of children. Why they're being migrated from places to places? Just by the mafia to get more money, they're being migrated. And children use it to carry drugs because nobody suspect them, they're carrying the drugs. This is from India, represented the United Nations General Assembly. And the committee, what I worked as a chairman, shall function as a bench of magistrate and shall have the powers conferred by the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 and a metropolitan magistrate, or as the case may be, a judicial magistrate of the first class. So we have the powers of a first class judicial magistrate. And here in the United General Assembly, Mr. Clinton was also there, and we both discussed many aspects and how best we can have solutions on these issues. He was so courteous to talk about to me for about 5 minutes. And one should know before going into the field of abuse prevention, details, what is child abuse? Many people do not know what is child abuse. They don't know what is clearly the definition of child abuse. They think different way. They think that beating by servant maid, or beating by teacher, or beating by mother, they are not only child abuse, but what is child abuse? So that prevention activism, the policy or action of using vigorous campaigning to bring about political or social change will take place. So, for that, see, these are all the child abuse. For example, verbally abusing a child, teasing a child, exposing a child to pornography, touching a child where she does not want to be, manipulation of a child, hitting a child, then breaking down the self-confidence of a child and asking the child to touch the parts of private places by people, by male person, then father care is not there, then even a child to work like a servant, and many times neighbors even, they are also neglecting the rights of the child, the rights to live freely, the rights to live fraternally, the rights to live happily, and the rights to live without any compulsion. These are all, in a way, are abused. That's why the child abuse is in different forms, different ways. Healthy child builds a healthy nation. Healthy nation encompasses physical, social, psychological, spiritual, environmental, economical, and positive health. That is more important. Unless a child feels that she is having the positive health, oh, I am happy, nothing is there. Or the child always getting negative thoughts because of the mother or because of the teacher, then the child health will be totally abused. In every compartment, in every component, we have to design strategies suitably for overall growth of children. Children are innocent. Adults are cunning. I am dare to use the word cunning. Adults are cunning mostly and always try to search for pleasure from abusing children. That is where they abuse. So this component is to be bring into the awareness of the people who are being suffered. Children cannot defeat themselves, cannot defend themselves. Children cannot object something is happening. Children cannot protect themselves. Ultimately leads to abuse. Children at times like to be abused after persuasion as per some studies. You may think, what is this? Because some studies have been published in the International Journal of Psychology of the Children. When somebody is pursuing a child, though the child does not want to be abused, when the person is constantly making, when a day comes, the child yields for abuse. I know there are a number of acts in the country, starting from Child Welfare Act, Juvenile Welfare Act, but none of the acts are being implemented by the government or by authorities. That's why I'm not going to touch the acts, though they say that child abuse can be prevented. She is Mrs. Nelson Mandela, Graco Michael. We both worked in Cape Town, particularly for child welfare and women welfare, and also the child rights. And I don't know whether you believe it or not, child prostitution. Is it not a child abuse? I'm questioning. Because many people are unfortunately forgetting about the child prostitution. Recently, I read an article in Colombo, particularly in the beach, the child prostitution for which agencies are being run, capturing the new guys who have visits their places, and child for the being sold. All human beings are born free and equal dignity and rights. They're endowed with reasons and conscience and should act towards one another in the spirit of brotherlyhood, says the Human Rights Commission. But is it happening? Is there child prostitution in India? Yes. 30% of all prostitution in India are children. 30%. And of all prostitution in India are children. Hope you know, according to UNO definition, a child is whoever below 18 years. That is the latest definition, not latest, even the old definition. Earlier, up to 16, we used to take them. But when that rape case occurred in Delhi, so the law has said below 16, you can send them to juvenile court. More than 16, though they are coming under definition of child, still we have to go for a bench and decide about the punishment of that age group. So 30% of prostitution in India are children. It is a business that grows 8 to 10% every year. And stop and ask ourselves, Why it happens? Why it happens? Can you? Sexual exploitation of children has its roots in traditional practices, beliefs, and gender discrimination. What is this? Devadasi. You know, Devadasi is a profession. It happens behind the big temples like Puri temple in Varsa, Konarka temples. Devada system where the girls are given for prostitution, otherwise called girls are sent to the head of the village, the name of Mata or Parvati, or in the name of Yogini, and they are used by everybody in the village, and they say that Mata is given to God. That is called the system. It has got very tremendous, unfortunate roots in India and in Andhra Pradesh, Nellore, in Hyderabad, in many places happening. And myself, when Honorable Governor of Andhra Pradesh, we went to the roots, and also we took help of Mr. Chellappa at that time. He was the commission head, but we are still on the way how to go about. Extreme poverty that makes parents, husband or siblings to sell the kids in exchange of an insignificant amount of money. Young marriages are common even today in some cases. Their husband may sell the girl to prostitution. The influx of the affluent and not so affluent people from Gulf countries, India has boosted the flush trade in cities like Bombay and Hyderabad. This is what is happening, and I don't know. The honorable speakers along with me apply their mind. Abuse is a Pandora box. I call it the Pandora box. People abuse it when we did study, having HIV/AIDS. They are using drugs, psychological problems. And what has been done so far? The Immoral Traffic Prevention Act of 1987, act that protects child from prostitution in India. But what is the very few NGOs and projects that work against child protection in India, including Visakhapatnam. And child prostitution is a taboo. So, where it is happening, are you asking yourself if this happens in your city? Are we asking ourselves if this happens in our city? Then we know yes or no. Yes, it is happening everywhere. In every railway station, you find many child beggars are being used for prostitution and by the many people. People know it exists and sadly in front of our eyes. But no one wants to talk about it. Now it has come the time to put your personal issues behind and put our personal issues behind and watch a bit closer the problem. On the side of Walter railway station, abuse happening, that is the prostitution. Dare yourself to observe. Being an observer, be different, change what is around us. Child abuse is an anaconda. Is an anaconda. I called it as an anaconda. Besides being, many people are coming forward, being human beings. Let us all try to help them. They need our help. And are we ready to help them? After myself, Child Foundation of India, and we all interviewed and tested children for HIV, we found amazing, unfortunate results. Therefore, what I say, let us ready to eradicate child abuse. And come, make part of something bigger than ourselves. Come and help us build the biggest, nice. And we at Child Foundation of India, I gave my number here, 9703-100-938. And I am the chairman of Child Foundation of India. And we will share our all responsibilities with Mr. Sonu and his team if they come out with any good projects. Because why children disappearing? Child prostitution is the ultimate denial of the rights of the child. Friends, lastly, I want to come to conclusion. How to prevent? We may prevent to some extent. I am ambiguous to how far we can accomplish it. Child abuse, male child abuse, female child abuse, male to male abuse, male to female abuse, and vice versa. It is a complex behavioral enigma. The only way to hope is to prepare totally the children to escape from the assault. How? Physical preparedness, psychological preparedness, mental preparedness, and environment preparedness. Environment also contributes for the child abuse. Let us all join together to work against this epidemic, and let us try to have a healthy child in the coming days. Thanks for all those frontline soldiers in prevention of child abuse. I thank Mr. Sonu and also Anu and Clizy for their patient listening. I don't know if this type of webinars have got any discussion or not. If any discussion, we can also discuss about the issue. And I really thank Mr. Anu for a wonderful job he has been doing, particularly through the Sonu, Mr. Sonu, through Mac Marvin organization. I've been watching, but really he asked me to ventilate my opinion. But because of the time constraints, I have concised my presentation just to 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
Next, thank you so much. It was really nice listening to sir and seeing his slides. And actually, the sir has been a person who has been working for this for the past 14, 15 years. And I have been working for the past 7 years, my team. So, and in these 7 years, I can very well relate to what he was telling. So I can only imagine, how much effort he would have put in to bring in, changes in the society. And we know that no change is going to happen overnight. It has to happen from us. It has to start from the family. So I have a presentation with me. I would like to share the same if you are okay to that.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Please let me know if you can see the same.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, thank you. So what I can talk to you in terms of what has been working right with us, that is with our NGO, what we have been doing is educating the children from a very young age, starting from the grassroots, which is what we have to do to eradicate this social evil. So when we start to teach them from a very young age, it has to start from home. But at times, as parents or caretakers, we are not sure how to deliver this information because it's very sensitive. It can be very confusing to the children. Earlier, we used to have good touch, bad touch concept. Now it has been replaced with safe touch, unsafe touches, mainly because the concept of good and bad touch has been pretty much confusing for the children. So we have reached out to around 2 lakh children in this past 7 years. And primarily, we have been using education as our weapon to get into them. And so I have put in some pictures here, and I would like to tell you the methods that we use to educate and how we can get inside to actually, work together and prevent it. And so here we go. And I would like to first point out why we need to educate from the grassroots levels. That is, any education, if you don't impart it to the others, it's like, whatever we leave is a legacy. So we want our children to grow up to be healthy, safe, responsible adults who would be taking pride in their sexuality, who would respect other people's sexualities and boundaries. And we know that the number of sex-related offenses are on the rise, including CSA. Sir has mentioned this. And it's very heartbreaking to see the offenders are juveniles or young adults. And this education is needed to remove the taboo or the stigma that is there in the society, and to provide the right information about human sexuality starting from a very young age. And the preventative techniques that we use will bring down the cases of many teen pregnancies, CSA, as Sir said, HIV, AIDS, STDs, and other sexually transmitted illness, which is why we need to start from the lowest levels, that is from the kindergarten. It can start as early as 3 years. I'll go deeper into this as in how I move into the slides. So how do we empower the young minds? There are various methods. I can talk in terms of how we have been relating to it and our success story. So first one is the educational intervention that we have been using to target the children and the parents. As I said, many parents were not ready to open up. Even if they were ready, they did not know how to open up this with the children. So equipping with them with the right knowledge and skills to avoid sexual victimization is what we have to do. And we can encourage open conversations on body talks at home, like starting from a very young age. Say a 3-year-old child can very well be taught about her private parts, like how we teach them hands, eyes, ears, body parts. We can talk about the private parts. A vagina is a vagina, a penis is a penis. That's it. Because otherwise, when the child comes before the jurisdiction, the child is not able to say what has happened to her or him. So we know that from our childhood, we have been using several terms, pee, choo, etc., for our private parts, which is why the child is not able to communicate properly to the elder or before the law or whoever is assisting that person. So encouraging open conversations and body talks is very important, and it should start from home. So when we start from home, I have 2 children. When we start from home, suddenly if I go and tell my 13-year-old something, he or she may not listen. We have to start it very young. We have to be open about everything from a very young age. So starting from a very young age, we can encourage conversations and what we call teachable moments at home. We'll come to that again. So we had used self-help skills to children who cannot voice out. That is, imagine our children, like they can talk, they can come and tell that, Amma, that somebody has made me uncomfortable. Amma, somebody touched me in my private part. But what about children who cannot communicate? So we had devised self-help skills to children who need assistance and who cannot voice out. So we had done it in few schools. We have 2 mothers and concerned professionals working in this field who had done research on this. I had been part of that, and we had implemented it in some schools in Kochi. And apart from this, we have been using methods like role plays, puppet shows, dance dramas, mimes, street shows, etc., to reach out to the public. Because when you have a large event, say something which is sponsored by the law, we had 2 sponsored by the police department in Kerala, and we had gone to the tribal areas of Wayanad, which is like really rural place, and to reach there and to reach the rural areas, when there is an event, we coordinate with them through various street plays to get the matter into them, because the creative arts or the expressive arts go very deeply into the minds of children, and the same goes with visual arts as well. Whatever we show in the form of short movies or videos will go extensively in reaching out, and we can train them on the 3 R's: how to recognize, how to resist, and how to report. And as everything goes, like sir had mentioned about the after effects, PTSD, for example, post-traumatic stress disorder is an after effect. So we can offer mental health support in that case. So this is about empowerment. Now, how do we start open communication at home? How do we educate? So we use teachable moments. There may be many moments where we shy away from addressing many things to our children. For example, last week I was watching a movie where there was an intimate scene and a fighting scene also between 2 men. So my husband was looking at me, I was looking at my husband, and then my son was there watching it. So we didn't know what to do, turn off the TV. Then I felt, why not address it? So he was looking at me and asked me what is happening. I said, see, intimate conversations or relationship can happen between 2 people of the same gender. It is not a fault. We should not shame them. We should not ridicule them. Their orientation is that. So try to use the teachable moment. Don't switch off the TV. Use that moment to talk. You know where your child stands, how open your communication has been with your child. So use that moment to address such issues to the children. It can be done privately. It can be done in a group, like in a family setup also, or in a school. So there you can see a picture where I am addressing a set of very young tiny thoughts, to get the matter into them, we had to use what we call the puppet show. We had two doll plays we did, sorry. And we use a doll plays to get the thing into their minds. It's very confusing. It can be really, we had to brainstorm into this to how to get into the children. So while we do all these things, what I would say is, empathize, don't ask them questions, never be judgmental. And what you can do is you can read a book on this. We have many pamphlets now. Sir himself was showing many images. So you can use such things from the Google. You can watch a video on the topic together. All these can, you can just cuddle with the child and go ahead and do all these things. And so here we go to the safe and unsafe touches. So earlier, as I said, it was bad touch and good touch. Like any, when somebody is making you uncomfortable by touching your private parts, then it is a bad touch. There the child got confused. So we have made it as safe and unsafe touches. This is what we do, like as mental health professionals and as people working in this field, reaching out to children, we do this. So what we do is that we emphasize on the swimsuit rule. The swimsuit rule is easy to go inside a child because most of them will be interested in swimming and they'll be like telling you, yeah, ma'am, my private parts are all inside the swimsuit when I wear it. Yeah, so what are the private parts? You go chest, part between your legs and buttocks or back. And there is one more part which is outside, which we say the mouth. So these 4 parts are your private parts and nobody has a right to touch them. These are covered by the swimsuit when you go for swimming. So rightly called as the swimsuit rule. So this is one way where we try to encourage kids and we ask them to use appropriate name for the body parts. Again, we ask them to use the concept of no, go, tell. That is for the very small child. He has to say no when his boundary is being violated, him or her. And he has to go away from the situation, run away, move away, go into the public where there are many people, shout for help. So we ask them to scream. They scream their lungs out in classes just to, show how much they can do it. But it's all amazing, these sessions. We make it very fun-filled and interactive. And we ask them to tell someone whom they trust. So in the trusted circle, we ask them to make 6 circles where you can point out, mother, father, teacher, or anybody whom they trust, sister, friends. They put in a lot of names. There will be a confusion here because, as sir said, this happens at home in some cases. So there can be a confusion when we tell them, about their trusted contacts. Sometimes they say, I don't have anybody in the family. So we say, it's okay, relax, we can understand. You can, think about a friend maybe whom you can talk, or to a police official. Can you come to somebody who can listen to you patiently? Then they agree. So this is how we can, go about with this. Because as I said, the topic is very highly sensitive. And next one is for a higher class, like we have devised a different presentations which we present to children of different age groups. So this is for the elder children. You can actually talk to them about the types of abuse. That abuse is not always physical. It can be emotional. It can be neglect. It can be sexual. And we can use age appropriate language. As I said, don't put a 3rd standard child with an 8th standard child, because the development stages are different. So necessarily whatever we use for an 8th standard will not put to a 3rd standard child. So we have to have that knowledge within ourselves. And then we have to teach them that is necessary to draw our boundaries. And we have to use assertion as a method for the same. No passive aggression, we use assertion. That is how to be assertive is a class which we give to them and ask them to do the same. We have to practice it. And it can't happen, it won't happen altogether. So these are some of the ways which we use. You can just go through like the types of abuse or the maltreatment. So tickling you, even when they ask them you to stop, then that will fall under physical touch, the contact abuse. Then you have somebody belittling you, harassing you in the internet or offline or online, calling you names, belittling you and taunting you beyond the point. It becomes emotional abuse. And then when you don't want to participate in a hug or you don't have to force a child to do the hugging. Somebody is coming into the family, is a respectable person, he's 50-year-old. So what if the child doesn't want to hug? Why do you want to force him? Don't force him. There are other methods like pat on the back, give a shake hand. That will do, right? Why do you have to force them? Beta, hug karo, no need. So you don't have to do that, right? So don't force them, because we don't know what the child may be feeling. So you can encourage other methods. So these are just like, I just took a slide from other presentations from where I can just present it, show you how it's done. And we basically divided this. This was done with the help of an IPS officer here, who actually asked us to categorize it as contact abuse and non-contact abuse. So our members, volunteers actually present case studies in the form of stories and explain, so that the children don't get intimidated so much. They don't get scared. And we present it in the form of stories according to the age of the child, that how much the child is able to grasp it. We don't have to, it should not be overwhelming for the child also. So that's how we do it. And then the non-contact abuse, of which the cyber crime is the worst now, because the classrooms have come after the pandemic. The classrooms have come to the home. So every child has a WhatsApp, every child has all the social media devices, a laptop, gadget, everything is there. We can't help it, but at the same time we have to teach them on how to be smart on the internet. SMART, there is an acronym for that, like, S for safety, M for not meeting people, reliability, then what, zipping your information, something that is there. So I can, if I go on with that, it will take up the time, because it's such a huge, vast topic. I can talk for 2 hours and have 10-15 minutes. So I thought, okay, while I'm here, I'll just present whatever I can to help. So these are some of the cyber threats which we have identified, which cases have come to us, and we have been, spreading information on all these things. The online sexual exploitation and the types like sexting, revenge porn, for example, has become massive now. That to couples, when they are all good, they are lovey-dovey, they take pictures, they hug, they do all that. Once they fight, everything is on the internet. The picture and everything then starts a threatening, and then they are blackmailed. And teens are the most victimized in this. A huge, major part of the teenagers are on the Insta, and it's being used for such purposes as well. And there are a lot of rackets which have recently gotten busted, including the boys too. You would have heard about all these things. So I'm not going deeply. So these are the 3 things which UNICEF has identified with respect to the online internet users, content, contact, content, with whom the child makes the contact in the internet. They, if the parents don't watch for signs, emotional signs, they may be abused silently. They may not be knowing that it's an abuse. They may fall for it, and the parent will remain, unknown, and he or she may not be aware of it. And then regarding the content and the conduct. Conduct is how the person behaves online, the behavior of the child online with the person whom he or she interacts, and content is what is available. So if there is something which is obscene, then the child may get completely wrong concept or idea about human sexuality. If there is no open talk, then it can lead to more confusions. So what we can do when the children have mental health issues related to abuse or trauma, we try to make them aware of the stigmas associated, and we acknowledge the need to take action, and we provide for treatment option. This is what we do. And getting help from the law enforcement is very important. Asking them to take, if it's a cyber crime, asking them to record the conversation, taking a proof of it. And also when most of us have Android phones now, so there is an option to record, right? So we can ask the children to do all that. Somebody is harassing, calling nonstop in the phone, no need to tolerate. So they should have the, they should be assertive and say, no, I don't like it. Stop calling me. So what happens after that is another story. Maybe as sir said, he's into more action, so he will know, because earlier it was only limited to stalking. Now it's like action, throwing acid, taking revenge, and all those things happens. So then we also emphasize on self-defense. So the picture behind is from one of the self-defense classes we had organized. And so I am actually trained in an Australian mode of self-defense called Krav Maga. Me and my daughter, both of us went together to just, acquaint ourselves with the physical defense. And this training was not done by me because I'm not licensed to that. I'm only a mental health professional. So this was done by a trained person. You need a certified and qualified instructor for this, and we have to, when you use it as a self-defense, then we have to consult the jurisdictions, and self-defense is also not always physical. You can tell the children about verbal physical defenses. Many techniques are there on how not to get into a conflict situation or an argument which will escalate into physical fights and all that. So there are many methods which can be used. And yeah, so that's me there with the dance. I'm a Mohiniyattam artist, which I used, for this. So we had done mimes, street plays, and dance ensembles, which we used widely to deliver the messages. And we used expressive arts therapy as a medium of therapy to help the children explore and express. Then we used books publications, and we had a practitioner, NLP practitioner in our group. So recently we went to a girls' home where we used NLP calibration techniques to attain a rapport and help them to come out of their trauma. And for children who needed assistance, the differently abled children, we used PECS cards. Sorry, the spelling is wrong here, and ABC sheets. So I'll correct it. So this is what these are the techniques that we had used for prevention. And no matter how many people are inside this, NGOs, police department, law enforcement, whatever we do, nothing is enough unless it starts from every home. I seriously wish I could do more, because when I hear about the crimes, I want to seriously help, and reaching out is a problem. So for children needing assistance, this was devised by a mother who had whose second son was autistic, and there was this case which happened in Bangalore, India, where if I remember correctly, it was in 2014, where a child who needed assistance was abused by her own swimming instructor or gym instructor, I don't know exactly, from the school, and that it was a very heinous act. So from there, she devised a plan on how it can be done age-wise for children. So she devised a plan for 2 to 5 year olds where they are able to define gender, what gender they are, boy or a girl, and point out private parts. And she used picture cards and cartoons to explain this. And for 6 to 10 years, she used the personal space exploration and the PECS cards. So the spelling is right here. It is Exchange Communication System, PECS. So this is what we used for the differently abled. So though we use a lot of techniques for this, it depends always on the takers, like what kind of audience you have. If it's a school, what mode they prefer, because we use mainly schools as to reach out, because we are able to get access to a large number of students of various age groups. So I'm sorry that I took a bit longer than my time. The subject is vast, and it's never enough whatever I thought. So thank you so much for all the patience.